Creative people are the trusted communicators of our society, a society that is ridden with more fear, loneliness, and anxiety than ever.
We recognize that creative people and those championing their work should be honored for who they are and treated with care as they devote their lives to articulating the human experience.
My name is Samantha Jervey.
My name is Emily Falvey.
Together, we're the co-founders and co-host of Mind Over Melody, a podcast focused on wellness for artists, songwriters, and music industry professionals.
We pray our conversations can be a safe place for you to rest, grow, contemplate, and be reminded that your wellness matters first and foremost, and ultimately leads to the kind of creativity that sustains and abounds.
Thank you for listening to Season 1 of Mind Over Melody. We'd like to give a special thank you to our sponsors for this season, Truist and Porter's Call, and to our editor, Cooper Carr. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or a qualified mental health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health issue. If you are experiencing a crisis or need immediate help, please contact a local mental health service or emergency services. Other resources are available on our website at mindovermelody.com.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. This is Sam Jervey speaking, co-host alongside the lovely Emily Falvey here. Welcome to Mind Over Melody. We are so excited to have a very special guest today. You likely have heard the name, Mr. Walker Hayes. And if you aren't familiar with his name, you've definitely heard his songs. So I'm going to kick it over to Emily to just give a formal intro, and we'll dive into today's conversation.
I'm so excited about today, Walker. Thank you so much for making the time in your busy schedule.
Thank y'all for having me.
I feel like our listeners are in for a real treat with you. I'm biased because you're my friend, but I just feel really fortunate to get to soak up your wisdom whenever we're in the same room. And I'll formally read your bio, but I'll probably sprinkle in my own thoughts about your bio. But Monument Records recording artist Walker Hayes is a singer-songwriter originally from Mobile, Alabama. In 2021, his smash hit Fancy Like topped every country music sales and streaming chart, spent more than 6 months at the number one spot on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart, hit the top 5 on Billboard's Hot 100 Songs, hit number 1 at country radio, and gave Hayes his first Grammy Award nomination as an artist for Best Country Song. That is amazing.
Pretty cool.
The song was also woohoo! The song was also featured in a nationwide Applebee's commercial. That track, as well as follow-up singles AA, Y'all Life, Smoke, and Ball Player, have made Hayes one of the top-selling and streamed artists in country music. His recent project, Sober Thoughts, includes the single Same Drunk, and saw Hayes partnering with Athletic Brewing on a custom non-alcoholic beer. So cool.
Super cool.
Hayes, I love it. I've tasted it. It's delish. Hayes has performed his music, including the double platinum RIAA certified hit You Broke Up With Me, to national audiences on Good Morning America, Late Night with Seth Meyers, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, and Today, and he was profiled for CBS Sunday Morning. Hayes recently wrapped the Same Drunk tour, which follows his last arena tours, the Duck Buck tour and the Glad You're Here tour, which were awesome. I saw them with my own eyes. The Glad You're Here tour is the same title as the book Hayes released in 2022 with his best friend, Craig Allen Cooper, detailing his journey to finding Jesus Christ. It's been such a joy, Walker. I think I've known you for 5 or 6 years, just to see the evolution of your story and you meeting Jesus, which was such a joy to get to see that with my own 2 eyes too. And I just am humbled by the brilliant writer you are, the humble human you are in the midst of a lot of success and life change. So I'll just kick off the questions with, people talk a lot about the term overnight success, but I know you and I both know that you were working overnight shifts at Costco before anybody ever knew your name in the real world. Walk us through that journey and kind of the paradigm shift of, going from trying to support your family to all of a sudden being a household name, getting your deal with Monument. Just walk us through kind of where you were emotionally and physically through all of that.
Oh, shoot. What a massive, awesome question. By the way, that was the longest bio I've ever heard about my life. So that was incredible.
But it was an awesome one, huh?
I was like, that was cool. And then I was like, oh, that was cool too. And then you got to Jesus, and I was like, I was like, that's the coolest part. But yeah, you know, I have a super interesting life, and success is an interesting, man, what a word. I mean, I feel like like life is a dictionary, and I'm looking for like what that definition, you know, really is. Because as people would look at me now and go, oh, you know, you succeeded. In retrospect, I look at my life at Costco, and I don't know how I say this, but I look at that guy, you know, 8 years ago, and I go, he was succeeding, you know, like you know, I was doing what I had to do to take care of my kids. You know, it was I would say humiliating maybe isn't the right word, but it's the closest I can think right now. But, you know, when I'd been in Nashville 12 years already, you know, and the whole town, you know, knew my face, knew my name, but knew you wouldn't be like, oh, well, what did he do that's popped? I didn't have a bio then. It was like, this dude moved. Only thing on my bio was he has a bunch of kids. You know, that was the thing, was like, he has a ton of kids and his wife's awesome. I was an alcoholic, you know, at Costco. You know, I'm 9 years sober. So, you know, before, you know, Fancy Like popped off or really anything. But yeah, I look at that guy and I go, hey, you know, you were taking care of your family. You loved your wife, you loved your kids, and you, by God, you woke up and you really loved what you did. You know, God gave, I wouldn't have said God gave me that gift, but I had a gift. And one of the biggest gifts I had was just a desire and a I don't know what you call it, whatever that is, someone has to have to chase a dream, but the older I've gotten, I've noticed some people have it and some people don't. You know, I think, I don't know, I just think a dream is precious. And then that first step towards a dream is really precious. You know, it's like you take the population and here it is, and here's how many people have a dream. And then here's how many people actually just do it, you know, regardless of those circumstances. And I don't know, I can't explain, you know, Emily, well, I mean, why'd you wake up one day and want to you don't know. You didn't decide those things. You just have them in you. So, but again, like I said, at that time in my life, I'd have been like, man, I'm a failure. Like, why, you know, why can't I'm not gifted. You know, I can't even get a cut, you know, to pay for my kids. And here I am at Costco, you know, coming face to face with all these music execs that shop for strawberries here, and it's super weird, you know, when we look at each other and they're like, oh, you work at Costco now? And I'm like, yeah, it's come to that, you know. And so that was like every day. It was like, you know, any pride I'd ever had was gone. You know, it was a low part of my life, but at the same time, like we were talking about earlier about babies and joy. I mean, you know, every 2 years we had a little baby, and I got to hold that. And every day I woke up with a new song idea. I mean, I had so many song ideas. You know that part of that movie, Liar, Liar, when Jim Carrey's trying to say the pen is blue and he keeps writing all over his body. He can't lie, and he keeps writing it's red or whatever. You know, that's kind of how I was with music. Is I was like, man, I might need to give it up to be a better dad and a better husband. I might need to sacrifice this dream, and you know, it's all I can do. I'm not capable of buying clothes for my kids, so I need to, come on, Walker, like be a better husband, be a better dad. And then I'd come home with lyrics scribbled all over my hands and cups with, you know, titles. And I don't know, it's kind of annoying, but at the same time, it was like, that's kind of where all my stuff got recognized, you know. So obviously God had a purpose in that low. But yeah, and then, you know, COVID was scary for me. We didn't, you know, I went 400 and something days without a show, so we were just living off whatever we have. But, at that time, that was one of the most peaceful times of my life, because about 4 months before COVID, I came to Christ and just recognized my need for a Savior 100%. I mean, that was around the time we lost our 7th kid. And, on top of all the uncertainty of this crazy dream, I have, or this kind of elusive dream I'm chasing, and the kind of abnormal lifestyle, we have, and all the family's eyes, Lainey's parents, my parents, our siblings, everybody looking at us like, what are y'all doing, and then the whole town, and then, making no money. And again, we lose a kid, and, super sad. But that low, is where, all I had was Christ. It was like, ain't nobody here but him, and obviously, my wife. But so honestly, that Costco, that time of uncertainty over COVID, Lainey reminds me often now, we were we were unreasonably peaceful, during, I don't know, it was just kind of like, I think something so big like COVID, to me, it made me be like, man, the Lord is huge. Like, this affects the world. I'd never seen something affect the world before. You know what I mean? Like, and so that was like, well, all control is gone. I mean, I'm stuck in my house for a year. Like, and it's not just me, it's everybody on my street, And so it was like, well, what can you do? So my family and I, and my friend Craig, the guy who introduced me to Jesus, we just all, bonded. And there was honestly, we never really thought about the future. I mean, I did write songs and things like that. And then coming out of COVID, you guys, I mean, that song, Fancy Like, couldn't have blindsided anybody more. I mean, Emily, I mean, it just, you were used to, you were like, oh, you're Walker, the dude, I love, I could see, Emily, I could meet you and go, she's going to like my songs. Because you just have you're quirky, and I'm quirky. And so it's like two quirkies, and it's like, I feel like you probably heard Fancy Like, and you were like, quintessential Walker hate. Like, literally, start a chorus with Applebee's, read the menu, have some fun, super weird words like Tesla and Wendy, it's like, and then, that was I think the social media, it changes. Gosh, it's like changes every week, but for some reason that star aligned. And honestly, I swear, I mean, I love Fancy Like. There's something, like, I guess science could probably listen to it and go, there are these tones and people react to that, I don't know anything about that. I just know, when we wrote it and laid it down, I was like, album, boom, put it out. Like, let's just do this. And again, I had nothing in my history said that the 1,753rd song, that I wrote was going to do all those things that you read, And honestly, I don't even know what it did. I don't wake up and read stuff like that. And it did some crazy stuff, but it came out of nowhere. And actually, it happened Emily, I've talked about this. Sam, I don't know if you know about this, but this happened 2 months after my dad died. And so it was this huge, honestly, as the world, Emily knows this because we wrote this song called Six String American Dream, but as the world rejoiced and applauded and gave me all the validation I could have ever been looking for a moment. They even praised my kit. It's funny, I'll tell you, the week before Fancy Like came out, no one in their right mind would have gone, man, I need some parenting advice. I think I'll call Walker Hayes. He's really doing it right. He's living off his savings. And COVID, he's probably playing a game of Uno on the ground right now. He has no idea what his future, and then the Applebee's song came out, And for a moment, we're like the freaking Brady Bunch. Like, everybody's like, dude, how do you do the family? And I'm like, man, why are you asking me? Like, all I did was write the Applebee's song, but it exploded. And there were many, many, blessings. And then there were blessings that Emily and I were talking, fame. That's not a blessing at all. That is a burden that every famous person needs to take to the cross every day, all day, every day. It awakens all the gross stuff about you, as does money. I mean, honestly, I can't tell you how many times I've ridden home from something with Lainey and gone, man, we were much happier when we were poor. So again, when you ask the transition, I do a lot of looking back and going, dude, it was good. It was good when we would come home, looking through a cracked windshield with Chuck E. Cheese disease all over us to our last dime, with the kids playing with the little thing that they bought with their ticket. It's like, I miss that. Whatever that mindset was, I don't know, because now that I have more, I feel I desire to control more, and if I can't, it really irritates me and distracts me from the beauty of life around me. So I know this is a crazy, discombobulated answer, but yeah, my life has been super interesting. I mean, and like I said, my dad died. And then Fancy Like came out, the world rejoiced, but there was this tinge of like, oh man, I didn't get to do it with my dad. Like, he was the reason I ever sang out loud in front of people, and so I was like, man, that's ironic, that the guy, like the one dude who never, every time I said I'm pregnant, he was excited. Every time I had a song, he couldn't understand why it wasn't on the radio, and I could never explain to him why it didn't work, why it didn't work like that. And so God did give me this like one constant human who was as crazy as me, and it was him. And Lainey would even say that, he was always for us. Lainey and I met when we were 17. He never, when I got my job at Costco, honestly, I hate getting emotional on these things, but that makes me super, that like breaks my heart in the best way to remember this. But he was so proud of me when I went to Costco. And nobody, again, I wasn't proud of me. I wasn't like, dream come true, and the way I got to Costco was super humiliating. This kid wanted my autograph, and I needed a job at Costco. So I had to break this little kid's heart. This 20-something-year-old dude that worked at the tire center. He was like, dude, I love your music. And I was like, you work at Costco? Can you put a good word in for me? So we have all these, my life is just full of these like crazy nuggets of just highs. I mean, we've seen the highest of high, that earth can offer. But we've also seen the lowest of lows. So to tell you quite frankly, after all we've been through, to hopefully finalize my answer to this question today, the world is strangely dim. Like that I don't even know what song that is, but I think of it a lot because, and I don't mean that in a sad way, I just mean it in a really beautiful way, as to say, this just really isn't all there is, and it's magnificent at times, and it's very lonely at times, and it's such a roller coaster. It's such a terrible, lame analogy, but it is. It's just, day by day, and there's beauty in it, and there's darkness, but it's very short, and the older I get, and hopefully the wiser I get, the less I desire to chase, these highs and waste my time on earth chasing these highs, and the less time I spend dwelling, in the hurt and the darkness of the world, because they're both fleeting. the high and the low. And my emotional reaction to both is an illness. It's a brokenness within me. It's when my next song I write doesn't do well and the depression I fall in, that's a very narcissistic, sad, selfish, not grateful place for me to be, and it's not real. That's just my emotions lying to me, telling me that I'm hopeless, worthless, and my identity is in that song. And then when if a song makes me a gajillion dollars and all of a sudden I'm a better dad, I'm a better husband, I'm happier, I want to talk to more people, that's an illness too. That's not love, that's not joy, that's not peace, that's just endorphins or whatever you call it, the thingy, that's an emotional response. That's also a lie, because all that stuff that I'm identifying in, that's my identity, it's gone. It's not even there. It's just here for a moment. So I feel like as I grow, I still feel those emotions, but they don't drag me around, as much as they might have that guy, at Costco without Jesus.
Yeah.
I'll end with that word, Jesus, period. Bam. Next question. I'm sorry.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I'm like, I know you guys have known each other a really long time, but I was over here, you're talking about getting emotional. I'm like, maybe it's my hormones, but
mine too. Yeah, I get, when I talk about this stuff, I get a little sad, bittersweet, it's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. I just, alone, I was like, I felt like, I know we're recording a podcast, but I felt like I was just soaking it in, listening to a podcast. And such a word. Walker, I'd heard your songs. I used to work in publishing way back when, starting in like 2016, 17, and Scott Sherrod would pitch me your songs, and it was always so evident, when a Walker song came in, I was like, ooh, this is going to be, you use the word quirky, but I was so excited because, I don't know, it was just so evident that you had a unique gift, and to hear the thread and the roller coaster, the many different circumstances that the world gave you, and also to hear you talk about like finding that steadiness within through Christ, through your faith, and just through realizing if I put it externally, then I will be just like tossed in the waves constantly. Just really, really moved by your story. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And it also, just hearing you guys go back and forth, like, it reminds me of why I love songwriters so much. And it's a good segue into this next kind of question of like, everybody is driven to create for their own unique reasons, And so through the midst of everything you've navigated, I'm curious, like, what drives you to create today? And I'm sure that drive has changed and evolved over the years. And then you kind of touched on this a little bit, but second part of that question is, how has the cycle of success both hindered and enhanced that drive to create throughout your career?
Man, okay. Yeah, that's a loaded one too. And it changed, the answer to the both of those questions change, every day. Emily and I are probably similar. My life is spent looking for matches, just little strikes of a mat, like just, what'd you say? Yeah. Say that again, or just constantly, how do I, like that sunset, how do I put that in a song? And just ramblings. And so I text myself. I have an ongoing text to myself that's like a billion years long. And it's that's like the middle of the night stuff, where I'm like, maybe I'll get to this, someday. So that drives me. But, creativity in general, I feel like it's super underrated. Just I mean, to me, that's the image of God that you can't not take for granted because it's so magnificent. But just the fact that I always tell people, Sam, one thing I think humans in Nashville have never taken advantage of is just go sit in a write one day. Go sit in any write with two people who are excited to be there, and it will blow your face off. I feel like everybody should take one day of their life and sit in a write, because it's kind of incredible. To me, I love moments where you see life as just almost all of human being life combining at one point, and that's kind of what happened. It's kind of weird if you think about it, but that's what happens when two people bump into each other and talk. Is like, it's their parents' life coming together, it's their parents' life, it's Adam and Eve. It's all of it. It's like it's dinosaur times have dominoed into this thing, and then you run into each other at a coffee shop, and not only do you just interact in a room, but you take your stories and you put them into sentences and melodies, and since the beginning of music, and it all goes down on paper, and it's like that already existed. It just wasn't put in that order, and then bam, and then it's something, and it's like literally one of the most fulfilling sentences to complete for me personally. And I have no idea what I would do without that therapeutic process. I mean, you can tell just talking to me, I'm so ADD thought-wise, to the next thing and this, and that paper and pen and a guitar is such a file cabinet for all of that for me. And then having the help of someone, to say, no, I want to say this, today. I want to say this. This has to I need to express this. That's kind of what drives me. And it's not, I don't do all that stuff I said. I didn't do that on purpose. That's just what I've learned that writing is, and I just love it. I mean, I would be really, really excited if the Lord allowed me to do that every day till I leave this life, is write a song. It's a very fulfilling. I'm very grateful to have that piece of my life. So that drives me. And drive is a funny word. It's not, there's definitely days I come in and go, why would I write another song? The last one didn't do good. This one, it's never going to be fancy like again. I do have those feelings, but then I write about it, and so it's like, it's very therapeutic for me. And then, yeah, what was your second question? It was like, what drives you today?
Yeah, well, you kind of just even answered that of like, when I have those feelings, I write about it. But we were just talking about how has, your success defined, like both helped in some ways or hindered your ability to keep creating throughout your career.
Yeah, it can, now what's fun, when I was writing, but pretty fancy, like I just wrote because I loved it. I mean, I had there was nothing in my history that said, hey, one day you'll build a house with song, so I didn't know the material gains. And so now, sadly, I can look at a song and go, maybe this will be a hit, maybe this will, maybe this will drive a tour, and honestly, I don't really think that's a healthy, I rarely write anything good, when that's at the top of my mind. I'll give you an example. Emily knows, Sam, you can see a bumper sticker and be like, oh, that's cute. I could write the crap out of that. I'll write to that hook. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, you can write it. You can write the snot out of it. It can be perfect. It can be catchy. Your kids sing along, but it's kind of lifeless. You're just like, I don't know, whatever. It's not a baby. It's not a child to you. You're just like, whatever. But the other day, my contractor, his dad died, and his dad and him did not get along at all, and it was sad. He had to handle his dad's burial, and he was a Tennessee fan, and his dad was a Bama fan, and he said he texted me a picture of this Tennessee urn, and he said, "Do you think my dad would be pissed if I put his ashes in this Tennessee urn?" And there was something so magnificent about that laughter in that moment for me that I honestly, I'm glad you asked this, because that's what I live for. I mean, I was Emily, you just eat up. You're like, did you just say Tennessee urn? I mean, just saying that word, you're like, let me in a writer's room with that idea. You're just, and I remember telling my co-writers, I was like, y'all can think I'm crazy, but my contractor just did this. And I got to put him on a song, this house builder guy who's just, from the outside, he's one of those guys who were like, how do you write a song? And I'm one of those guys who's like, how do you not write a song about life? It's just, the ideas they're everywhere. And so, yeah, that is an example of, I didn't even wake up and think, why am I going to write today? I just woke up and went, I know what I'm going to do today. And even Laney and my kids were like, oh gosh, Dad's thinking about the Tennessee urn, and so I just when I get eat up like that, it's just nothing else matters. I mean, you're like, hey, first person who says yes to writing this with me, let's work, let's go to work. And I'll stay in that room as long as it takes, and I'll beat every line up. And if they go home, I'll take it home, and I'll mess with every line till it says, honestly, till it's to that one. I could not wait to send that to my contractor, and that's all that mattered. I just was like, I'm gonna do this for Brent. I'm gonna express this, and it's gonna mean something to him. And those are my favorites. I mean, those are. And what a beautiful, just what a way to kill time, till time kills us. It's like I got to hang with Brent. I got to write with Shane. We got to put it in a song that'll outlive us all. We'll all die, and there'll be this weird song sitting around on the internet, and it's just super. It's crazy, and we get the opportunity to do that every day, whether you work at Costco or whether you drive around in a fancy like bus. I don't know. It's pretty cool that we have that opportunity.
Well, that's amazing. And I have to say, one of the co-writers on Tennessee Urn, I believe, is our friend Dylan. And I was on a writing retreat with Dylan. Yes, I was on a retreat with Dylan the week after y'all wrote Tennessee Urn, and he played the demo. Oh, yeah. And I was like, that is Walker at his best. And I just have to say, as somebody who's been your co-writer and had the privilege of getting to be in the room with you, you're just one of the most prolific minds. And to get to see the way you can distill humanity, whether it's an Applebee song or Briefcase, or, I've just watched other artists react to the humanity that you inject into your songs. And even just that you could articulate such a crazy story about an Alabama and a Tennessee fan in such it's like beautifully sad and comical and awesome. And it's like you're able to get the spectrum of human emotion into your music.
Yeah. But Emily, it's interesting when you say that. I find that super fascinating that, and I'm so grateful. But that is a testament, honestly, to 100% of that glory. It goes to the Lord, and just Amen. Honestly, and just every human possesses these weird gifts, that God gives us. Yep. And everything you just said about me, it would make my high school teachers go, are you talking about the same guy? It would make my high school friends, go, Walker, you tell me Walker puts feelings together in music? I just wasn't, who would have thought, and I think that's every person you pass, going back to creativity, painting, writing, thinking. That's one thing I do love about kids these days, and socials is that there's an outlet, and I think people are able to find out these things about themselves. You know, I wish I had met writing sooner, you know, in my life, but it wasn't. I didn't know. You know, I didn't know anybody ever was like encouraged to write a song, except unless you took some dorky music class, you know, which everybody was like, well, you did what? You know what I mean? So I think it's just I think every single person, they actually are, there's just this massive space inside their soul called the creative part of them, and it is it's amazing. I mean, you know, I wish everybody would try to tap that or use it, you know, practice using it every day, because it is, again, it's to me, it's one of the best ways to kill time, you know, while we're here. It's like pretty cool.
And I love it. Yeah, I think we're created by our creator to create.
Yes.
Sam, what were you going to say?
Well, just reflecting back to, like, it takes a special person, and I think a lot of life, to also step out of your own way and to allow yourself to, like, name the absurdities of being human. Because it's such an absurd experience, right? Like, at 100%. The core. And I think we get so in our head, whether that's, I mean, I'm guilty of this because I've worked on the industry side. I've been the label system, you know, where you're like, hey, radio is saying they need this, but like, how does that hinder the creative process, where it's like, I always told the artists I work with or the songwriters I worked with, I'm like, I actually, and honestly, this is a bit of a Craig Wiseman-ism. It's like nouns and adjectives, you know, it's like the more specific you're actually willing to get and go, the more relatable some songs will get. And I've held on to that, because I'm like, we sometimes try to generalize at the risk of it just being such a watered down experience, when in reality, people will hear the song that they need to hear, and the details will be different, because no two lives are the same, and yet it will strike a chord. And I think of like JP Sachs. That was his music when I first encountered it. I was like, oh yeah, that was honest. That was all I needed. I just needed you to be honest, you know? So I just wanted to say, like, I commend you for that. You both in your writing styles, because you have to be willing. You have to be willing to take a step back and say, I'm going to go there, even though the world tells me, or whoever's voice that is tells me, that this is what will garner mass appeal. So, yeah.
I love the Craig, like, bull named Fu Manchu, or the Walker, like, Bourbon Street Steak, or, you know, there's just like, there's moments that, even if it's a specific detail that doesn't apply to your own life, you know, I always, I have some dear co-writers of mine, and we always talk about the Root Beer Popsicles and Humble and Kind by Tim McGraw, written by Laurie McKenna. It's like, where are those root beer popsicle lines, and how can we inject them into our songs to make it a more human? And Walker, I think you're one of the best at that, of just like finding a specific story. Even the Tennessee Urn one is a perfect example, and making that something that we can all find ourselves in. And that's what makes me so excited about writing songs, is that we have this distinct privilege to, you know, articulate the human experience. And that can be a burden. It's a double-edged sword, because you have to really live the human experience so deeply to be able to see it. But at the same time, it's such a joy and a privilege. And so I thank you for who you've been.
You're super kind. And I love, Sam, I love what you said. Just, and to both of y'all, I'm a huge, just nuggets like that. To me, you just break that wall. Like the word scrunchy, you know, you're just like, I see it. I see Lainey's scrunchy, you know, like, they need that. That's awesome. You're just like, and like, but I don't want to forget, because you said it. I mean, life is absurd. I think artists, like you said, we have the desire and the ability to just take the root beer popsicles and be like, we get to eat root beer popsicles. And that defines a a part of your life. It's an aroma, it's a taste, and you're like, don't forget that. Don't forget making friendship bracelets in 5th grade in the cafeteria. Like we get to be like, yeah, we did that, and that's like breaking a wall. You're like, oh yeah, man, I remember 5th grade. You know what I mean? And life is so absurd. That when you said that, Sam, it made me think of last night. Lainey and I have had a tough couple days with just all of this stuff we're talking about, and a couple things. And we like, I went before she got into bed. I got into bed first, and I was like, don't forget. I was like, don't forget to touch. Like, make sure, because I fall asleep so much better if Lainey's like, if my leg is touching hers or my, and we were just laying there, and Leela came in, and we were all hugging, and I was just thinking, this is a human experience, right? Hugging, touching, and I'm just like, if an alien came down and watched us, watch you hug, they would be like, what is that? What's that? And they would watch us like we watch animals in a zoo, and it's funny how good that feels. And I'm not even a touchy-feely person. Like, I would never get a massage. I don't want anybody touching my face. I have the weirdest OCDs and issues of touch. Yeah. But when the person I love, when Lainey, and her hands are, around me, and I'm around her, and I can feel her ribs, and it's just like, you're like, who cares? This is great. Let's just hang right here. And that is absurd. That is like,
yeah.
Has anybody ever been like, why does that happen? And also, why do we want to meet at the mouth? Like, why don't we put our ears together and kiss? Like,
I thought that too. I'm like, who decided that it was this?
Yeah, you're like, the hole that I put this burger in, I want to come at you and kiss you, and it's awesome though. You're just like, lips feels so good, and it's like, and you're like, no, not just any lips though, your lips, and it's just like your top lip and your bottom lip, and just I don't know, it's just these are things that everybody does every day, but no one is ever like, it's awesome to kiss.
Right, we didn't break it down like.
Oh my God, it's crazy. When you're in high school and your first one is like your first beer, you're like, it's kind of weird. Like, I didn't know what to do, but you're like, I want to do it again. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just it is. And that's just the tangibles of life. That's not even the stuff, that's just like what we do physically. And it is so complicated and crazy, the way we all work. And so it's just, there's so much to express and create and write and share with the world.
I love it.
Me too.
Well, I know we don't have much more time, so I want to be respectful of that. So I think we have maybe 2 more questions for you, Walker.
Bring it on.
I want to know, if you could go back in time, would you do anything about your journey differently? I know that's kind of also a loaded question, but I'd be eager to know, what, if there's anything in that vein.
No, I mean, there's obviously a lot of pain where, I'd be like, I would have liked to have learned this lesson this way, but, I really, I'm such a, man, I just need Jesus a whole lot. I know me really well, and the Lord knows me, and I just need Jesus a lot. I mean, I really do. And I just, every day, I'm that guy in the Bible who says, I believe, help my unbelief. And I'm like, dude, that is me, and I'm also the lady who's like, I just want to touch your jacket, please, Jesus, just walk by and let me touch your cloak, and that's kind of where I am today in life. And I think that's one of the best places, you know, I can be. And so whatever God had to do, or I had to not do, or do, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I would change it. And I say that with 100% gratitude. I mean, I look at Lainey and I look at my kids. I mean, this sounds a little morbid, but like, you guys, if I died today, hands down, I dare somebody to put their life up against mine. I mean, it has been a freaking ride. I mean, I have seen it all. I have buried a kid, and I've had a Applebee's commercial. I mean, I mean, it has been, I don't know how. I have a best friend named Craig, who's not my flesh and blood brother, but I swear he's better. I have a wife that I met when I was 17. You know, I have 6 kids, and every single one of them are just way more amazing than me.
They're wonderful. I can personally attest.
They're oozing with gifts and talents and funny and mean and just, they're everything. They fight, they wrestle, we fight, we say sorry, and they've seen it all. You know, they've been by drunk dad, atheist dad, love the Lord dad, famous dad, you know, I don't know. It's just, I really have. I've seen, as if I don't know, I've read the book of the world. I have. I feel like I've just seen it all. And I'm only 44, so I'm kind of like, what do you do for the rest? You know, now I think, man, you know, I say these things to my daughter, Leela. I'm like, Leela, if I ever get to see you in a bed holding your kid, I'm going to lose my I'm going to fall on the ground and turn into a puddle. Like, I'm going to look like a melted snowman on the ground. Because I can't imagine how that feels to look at a daughter who has a girl, you know, and I don't know, Lord willing, I'll get to do those things. But my answer is, I would be hesitant to change anything. I'll give you a tactical one. My mom and I, we have forgiven each other for many, many things. And I wish, and I think this goes across the board, we should all forgive way faster.
Amen.
I think, I look back and go, man, I spent a lot of years not forgiving a few people, it's probably for stuff where you go like, oh, I get it, you know, the world would say, oh, I get it, you had a right, you know,
right,
but I don't agree with that, and I appreciate what people would be trying to say by saying that, but I don't know, man. I think forgiveness is one of the qualities most like, you know, my Lord and Savior, and it's for a reason, man. I mean, forgiveness is amazing. And I do. I wish I had forgiven my mom faster and a long time ago, but I wasn't smart enough. So I'm glad. I would change that. I would forgiven her even as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I would have had way more mercy on her than I've had. So wherever you are, Mom, I love you.
I love that answer.
Yeah. Wow. Well, again, this has been a gift of a conversation. Walker,
let's go.
We always
Great questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your willingness to dive deep with us too. I know, it's just Wednesday morning, you know, we're just trying to break the absurdities of life, break them down.
But you're about to have a baby.
Yeah.
Any day now.
I know.
Truly.
Today could be the day. It might be your kid's birthday.
Honestly, we had a backup, a very gifted, wonderful young woman, Julia, who, in case I went into labor, she was going to jump in. So I'm just grateful that baby girl held on so I could be a part of this conversation today. But last question, we always love to land on this question. I'm curious, what does wellness look like for you in your life today?
Shoot. Wellness is, I mean, I'm gonna harp on Jesus again, just, it's that peace, beyond comprehension, that only He can give me, there's really nothing, there's nothing around me. There's no song idea, even though, I love songs. We talked about that. There's no song idea. There's no end to parenting. There's no if all my 6 kids are, I want them to love Him, first and foremost, but I can't fix them. I can't get them all fixed, and I can't get my marriage super happy, and I can't be on this perfect synchronized place with my manager Rob and Marissa and Georgia, and there's none of that. None of that means wellness to me. Even bodily health.
Right.
That's not. I don't know. I don't think of that when I think of wellness. I just think this thick peace. That almost you would look in my face and be like, how can you be so peaceful, in this circumstance? To me, that's the only wellness that I've ever been offered ever, peace, even in the face of death, I believe that. I mean, that's wellness, and the knowledge of that we all are going to die, everybody. I mean, hate to possibly say this on your daughter's birthday, Sam, but the beginning of a life is the start of the end of a life. And that's kind of what we're faced with here. And so to me that's wellness. Knowing Jesus, just being able to trust the Lord, or and speak to Him in Jesus' name all day and every day, conversing with Him, that's kind of what wellness, that's the only wellness I have,
Yeah. It's a word.
Well, amen to that.
Yeah.
Word.
I'm just so grateful for this and for your many gifts, Walker. I'm
Thank you.
praying continued abundance creatively with your family. I'm praying for the Lord to be close to you and to remind you how extraordinary you are. And sweet Sam, it really is crazy to think how much your life's about to change too. So I love this, that we dove deep on a Wednesday and just got to talk about life and the human experience and the absurdity of it all. And so I'm just really grateful for both of y'all.
I'm so excited for y'all. Yeah, I wish we were having a baby on a Wednesday. But yeah, we're done.
Well, plenty of song babies still to be born.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, y'all are great. Thanks for letting me ramble. I'll do this any day with y'all.
We appreciate you.
We're grateful.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Hope it's a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll be seeing you.